Okay, so our next speaker is Michael O'Kane. Michael is headmaster at St Colmcille's primary school and nursery unit in Claudy. He's going to talk about learning and teaching using technology post-lockdown and in the future. So, Michael, there you are. I'll hand it over to you now.
Thanks very much. I'm just going to share my screen here now. Hopefully it works. Can you see that okay?
Yes, that was great.
That's good. Thanks very much for having me on tonight. I hopefully not keep you as long because everybody wants to go to bed. But I want to thank the BBC for letting me come on board tonight and for inviting me on. It's a real privilege. And there's lots more better qualified people out there to talk about this than me, but I'll let you know what my thoughts are. Really, the first thing that I have to say is, moving forward, this part of the world we're in, the north of Ireland or whatever you want to call it, I think we're lucky and privileged to have the teachers that we have. In a previous role before I became a headmaster, I was very lucky lucky and unlucky if people know me, but I was very lucky to be able to work with, not exaggerating, probably hundreds of schools in the north and schools across Europe and across the world. And that's not to sound, like, wow, I've been here and there, but I did get the chance to work with so many teachers. And I have to say, and it's easy to say in front of an audience like this, but the teachers in schools here are the best. And that's just that the education system we have is excellent compared to a lot of other areas in the world. And we really have to take stock of that. And appreciate that and understand that and to use that as a baseline for moving forward. I think every teacher in the country we live in, and every school and every school leader and every parent wants the very best for their children, and they want them to strive for excellence. And I think we have that already in lots of areas. So it's just about pushing forward and building that and moving on with it. And technology is very important. However, the one thing I would want to say is we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The best teachers that I've come across, the teachers that I work with every day, the teachers that I've seen over my career, some of the best use very little technology at all. They use it the way they see that it needs to be used to enhance their learning and teaching for the children in their classrooms. And I just think of some of the teachers that I've seen, doing activity-based learning in the primary school, connecting literacy and numeracy and world around us, and really creating immersive lessons, whether that be in the classroom or outside the classroom. And again, they could be using minimal amounts of technology, but, they've created so many great learning opportunities. Now, that's not to say we don't need technology going forward. It's just about blending that into what we're doing going forward. This time will pass. We will be back to normal at some stage, and it will be normal. I think, based on what's happening at the minute, all the teachers that I talk to and all the principals and headmasters and headmistresses that I speak to, they just want things to get back to normal too. And I can't wait till I get back to normal. I'm enjoying it at the minute in some respects. It's very tough in other respects too. But I think we all do want to get back to normal. Getting back to sort of this region that we're in and moving forward, there are, of course, areas for development, but there are some major sort of things coming up and massive improvements. And areas like Nursery are beginning to embed across schools in Northern Ireland. And, we always talk about SEN and some of the things we would like and would need, compare our sort of provision to areas across the world. Our SEN provision is excellent, and it's important to remember that. And of course, in everything, we want to improve things, but it's important to keep that in mind. And of course, as teachers, what we have at our fingertips, I think, is second to none, because you think about, you walk into school in the morning, you turn on your computer, you've got a full suite of Microsoft tools to use there under C2K and OneDrive. You've got Google Classroom. We have mountains of iPads in our schools. We've robotics, we've drones, we've spheros. We have everything that we need. So it's just embracing that. And it very much comes down to the teachers. And as I say, I think we've got the best teachers in the world, and I'm sure you agree. There's plenty of teachers on here tonight and educationalists. But I think moving forward, we need a major focus on the time that we give teachers to embed the use of technology and to develop learning and teaching in general in the classroom. And I think we have to rip up our timetabling and think about that as we move forward, and giving teachers more time. You know, EA are already beginning to focus on this, you know, and I think it's absolutely fantastic what's coming up with the new teacher professional learning model. And of course, in my own mind, I'm looking forward to there's sort of a coaching and mentoring program coming up for school leaders and middle leaders and things like that. And, you know, that's real top class sort of, you know, programs and resources that are going to be available to us going forward. So that's already began. And I suppose with the end of union action, you know, we've ensured that our teachers do have time for developing learning and teaching and professional development. But as I said, I think we need to rip up the timetable, you know, and redesign our days, weeks and timetables to ensure, you know, teachers have the support to develop learning and teaching in the classroom with technology, you know, and develop more opportunities for peer teaching and sort of discussions for teachers after that peer teaching has taken place. And even if they are using online platforms like Seesaw or Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, give them actual time out to create the resources they need for that so that they can look at planning and try new approaches with the technology and also time for reflection on that as well. And at the end of the day, this will impact positively on our children whenever teachers have time to create the best learning experiences possible for them. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. I probably should have been on this slide with time instead of the Giants Causeway, but you can see what I'm getting at with it. I just want to move on, and I think the previous Michael on the session touched on this in terms of project-based learning, and I call them collaborative real-world approaches. And I just want to sort of tail off into our story, and these are the skills we really need to teach our children as they go forward. A few years ago, I got married, thankfully. And we moved into our house and I went to football training, and I came back one night and the electricity was sort of off in parts of the house, and I thought my wife had turned off the lights in parts of the school, my head's in school, parts of the house. But it turned out some of the electricity was off. Obviously a trip had blown, and I like to think I'm sort of well up in terms of my handiness around the house, but I just couldn't get my head around how to sort this problem out. So I had to call my father to come down. And my mum and dad ended up coming down that night too, and it was great to have them in the house. I suppose now we can't have them in the house, but it's great to have them in the house. And I just watched my dad, and he systematically was able to turn off lights and turn off different trips and switches and work out what part of the house which was causing the problem in terms of the switches or the light bulbs, whatever it was. And he was able to solve the problem in 5 minutes. And he had that ability in him. Now, I would say he probably had that ability taught to him by his father. But of course, with my role as a teacher, I don't have the sort of wherewithal with those skills. But that's really problem solving and critical thinking. And we can teach those in class, and we can teach those in schools. And I think that's where that sort of collaborative real world approach needs to be built in. You know, we use Minecraft in school. And a particular favorite of mine is sort of the Viking resources from SIA. And it really delves into the curriculum and connects the curriculum, literacy, numeracy, thinking skills, personal capabilities, history, geography, and gets children to sort of solve problems based on real world situations. And then it delves into the past as well with the Vikings. And I've used it firsthand with my children. I think SIA have come up with an amazing resource, and it's something that we look forward to using at home and in school over the next few months. And if you can think of any of those other project-based activities that you've done over your career, those are the things that we need to give time to teachers to develop. And of course, with technology, whether that's collaborating at school, in different classrooms, in different areas, or geographically collaborating at home with children who are sort of remote learning at the minute, or schools where classes have shut down. So going forward, I know that's coming down the line, you know, in terms of coming from EA, C2K, SIA, you know, those sort of resources for teachers and that time to develop it. And also schools working together. I saw there in the Q&A a few minutes ago, somebody had talked about, you know, how do we promote schools working together? And I think that support comes from EA, you know, C2K, the Apple Regional Training Centres out there as well. You know, and that's already happening. It sort of began before COVID as well. I was part of a sort of numeracy cluster that was run by Straw Primary School just up outside Ballinascreen, or Dripperstown, whatever you want to call it. And it was amazing. I think there was a gentleman, Robert Thompson from EA. I think Daniel Copley was involved as well. And I really wish that we had that training 10 years ago. I just think my practice would have been 100 or 1,000 times better if we had access to that. So that's coming down the line from what I understand. you know, I'm not really into just new concepts, just like peer observations, and sort of how to give each other evaluations in staff instead of just leaving it to sort of a coordinator or a principal. And that sort of changes the dynamic because, you know, staff are generally friendly and are friends with each other. So if they're working with each other, collaborating with each other and giving feedback with each other, I think that's the way forward to go with it. You know, and especially with technology, whether that's with the iPad or a Chromebook or a laptop or whatever you're using, it's all the same at the end of the day. I just like iPads, as some people know. But time for teachers to sort of work on this and embed it into their practice and look at how children can then embed that into their sort of teaching and learning going forward. I've gone on long enough. It's now half time in the Ireland match, and I think it's 0-0. Depending on what Ireland you watch. But I just want to leave you with this quote from Simasini, and I think it's sort of, I've seen this quote in different guises, and it really applies to everything we do in life, but particularly what's happening in schools in over the next sort of couple of months. We're going to hit brick walls. We're going to hit problems. We're going to get, you know, the dreaded phone call in the morning with a COVID case. You know, we may have to be working at home for 2 weeks, and even more importantly, you know, we may have major difficulties with our health, our family members' health, which is our real problems, not like, you know, technology in school, but real problems in terms of health and family members. So really building resilience and keeping going. You know, when Simasini there says it best, I think he's my favorite sort of poet. And keep going, keep leaning on each other, keep working hard. And if you need to take a step back, tell somebody, tell your principal, tell your colleagues, tell your wife, tell your husband, tell whoever's at home, and take that step back and get your breath again. And if you can, keep going. So thanks very much to the BBC. Great to be involved with a large number of fantastic educators in this sort of call. And thanks very much for giving me some time tonight and for the invite. So good luck, everybody. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's great. It's Byron ending.